So basically, just to give you guys a update or background, he said I'd like to discuss a few things about general mindset and an overview for long-term learning before we get started. Sure.
Anyone here know what a dead lane is?
Hey, BSJ.
Hey, buddy. So real quick, I'm gonna.
Oh, I can't hear you. One sec.
Teresa
It's
Wells
weird.
Claire. Twitch. Hello, you there? Can you hear me? Greetings. Hello. Hello. Oh, he's not here anymore.
Hello?
Second time tried. Hello.
Okay, there. I can hear you. Perfect.
Cool. Sexy.
Awesome.
Okay, so you basically said you want to start with some like general stuff.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know. Well, I'm kind of concerned how much time you dedicate to people, because I can tell you really care about your students. So I want to make sure we don't go over an hour, because I'd rather, we cover like half the things and I apply them and maybe come back and learn the rest,
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right.
So
the question I wanted to ask
time
you-
for that request, but go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, if you were to go back in time and start Dota over, start learning over, lacking all of your Dota game knowledge, but all of your life knowledge that you've gained over the last few years, you have that. What kind of mindset would you cultivate? Who would you turn to? What perspective would you bring to learning Dota from scratch?
Yeah, so I mean that's interesting. I mean that's basically the question I'll have to ask myself. I mean I've kind of asked myself before, but it's a question I'll have to answer if and when Dota dies, and then I wish to still pursue competitive gaming, right? Like that.
Like Artifact. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see what
like
you mean.
if it's Artifact, like exactly. If I was to start a new game, it would be that'd be the exact question I'd have to ask myself.
Mhm.
And I have asked myself that. If you watched any of my Fortnite streams, I actually I can't help but take a game seriously. Like no matter what game I play, I've always been very like hardcore. Like even back in high school when I played with all my friends, we'd play like Call of Duty, and like all I wanted to do was win and get like a ton of kills and stuff. And the nice thing about that game compared to a game like Dota is if your teammates are just dicking around and dying all the time, you can still have like a 20 kill streak and have a really fun time playing if that's all you care about. Obviously that's different, but my point is when it comes to my mindset, like when I was playing Fortnite and if I were to restart playing Dota, is first and foremost having the appropriate knowledge to learn whatever I need to learn. So if that's just a basic thing, meaning like heroes and stuff, I don't think you can really learn them other than just briefly looking at them every time you see one. Like say you've never seen a hero before. Like I would just like I remember like never having seen Bane. I would just like try to read their abilities. And then like every time I've tried to learn a hero, I have looked up their Dota 2 wiki and been like seeing anything that is specific about them that I may not have known. But in general, I feel like the one thing I've learned over time is everything that's a weakness in my game, if I really were to try to get better from the get-go, like learning Dota from scratch, is if something's a weak in my game, whether that was tread switching or whatever, some laning stage, is to approach it methodically. Like when I approached Fortnite, like because I have that experience that I had in Dota, is like I was really bad at building, so I spent like the first once I realized I was really bad at building, I spent like the next 10 games completely potatoing trying to build. Like I just died to everybody I found trying to build up. And it's like in Dota, I feel like there was a lot of times in my past, like numerous times, that I noticed mistakes I was making, or I knew parts of my game that were weaker than others, and I kind of just told myself, that's not that big of a deal. I have my strengths, I have my weaknesses, whatever. And I think the biggest mindset approach I would take that would be different would be that if there's a weakness in my game, whatever it can be, it has to be immediately addressed, and then I can move on. And that's
Right.
like I think that's anything in life, honestly. Like you said, you wanted to ask about life in general. Like I think like anything that you're doing, if you don't immediately address it, if something's a problem and you don't immediately address it, it's gonna come back to bite you. Like
It becomes a bad habit.
Yes,
Yeah.
it becomes a bad. Yeah, exactly. Even more
And then you have
so.
to unlearn it, and it's even more work.
Yes, yes, even more so. Yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly correct. I completely that is what I believe. I just didn't say it. So yeah, it becomes even worse, like you said, because you become it's almost like a crutch for you. You like adjust to the fact that you can't play that way, or you can't do this well, or you're bad at this, and it's like it's gonna come back to haunt you even worse because you lived that much longer around the fact that you had that weakness. So for me, that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned. But like for me, I think to learn Dota, first and foremost, I would say the most effective way would be to play 3 or 4 heroes and have all of them be different. I'd say probably 5 heroes. I'd say 3 heroes in your main role, and then 1 hero in 2 other roles, and like whatever role you wanna try to get best at. So like if you're a newer player and you've never played a game, like you've never played Dota before, I'd probably play 1 hero in each role and see which one I like best, and then do the 3-1-1 thing.
Right.
And that would be with the idea that those 3 heroes would have to be different. So like it can't be Anti-Mage, Spectre, and Alk. That's not the 3 carries I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna.
You want to
pick,
practice different areas. I see.
Yeah. Like 3 heroes that do things at least slightly different, right? Like they can't just be all hard farmers. One of them can be active, like an Ursa. Like it'd be like you could do like Anti-Mage or like Anti-Mage Bloodseeker, Jug. Those are kind of like 3 kind of completely different heroes. So like I could maybe try those. But my point is that I would try to learn the game that way, such that I could learn all the general things. Like when I learned tread switching, I actually think I did it right the first time. I literally played Slark 25 games in a row, and I said I'm going to tread switch on every single ability used, and I did it. And so stuff like that I think is best fixed. Like if you're working on something that applies to every hero, it's best done from 1, like or 2 or 3.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because then like I was trying to explain that in my last coaching session. It's like if I know that at nighttime as a support, if I smoke and I ward, or if I smoke, I'm supposed to have a ward because that smoke breaks at about 1100 range and my vision's 800. Then I know I need to ward every time I smoke at nighttime. And that applies to every single support. But I'd much rather you play Jakiro 10 games in a row doing that, because then you're not worried about pushing buttons. It's like when I was trying to play TA the other day, the reason why most of my mess-ups are occurring is because I'm actually so focused on properly side-blading, properly meld striking, that
Your mental capacity is loaded up.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't focus on the little things. And there was actually one point in my TA game that I was so busy doing that I literally go, oh my god, I'm out of position. And then 2 seconds later, I die. Like, I'm like, holy, like, I had that sudden realization because now it's like, snap back to the game, no longer thinking about the side blades, and then I just die because I'm out of position. So if you can learn the general things from very specific heroes because you're no longer focused on actually playing the hero itself, then you can then have the general knowledge that you can then apply to other heroes, so that then you're only learning the hero, and then you have the general knowledge to go with it. And what I realized is, like, when people ask me about why I'm learning Lena, about why I'm learning Sven, the other patch, and like all these heroes that I'm trying to learn. The heroes that I've recently tried to learn or something I've tried to explain to everybody, and this applies to anything in any game, like this applies to Fortnite too as well. Like, if I say my aim is my weakest part of, like, or my burst fire in Fortnite is my worst part of my game, I'm going to try to kill people with assault rifles. Like, I'm going to try to practice with assault rifles. That's just a very generic example from that. But, like, my weakness was properly CS mechanics with the A-stop A that I've talked about. I can show you if you don't know what I'm talking about. Please
I've been practicing it. It's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's really important, right? And Lena's a hero that it's more important on ranged heroes, and it's more important on heroes with super awkward turn rates and attack animations. And Lena's like a ranged hero with terrible turn rate, terrible attack animations. So like that was a hero that really highlighted my weakness of being able to CS properly with that mechanic. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna spam Lena whenever I go mid, and I feel like my mechanic in that regard is actually 10 times better than it was a month or 2 months ago. Like it's so much better. Like every hero in the game of Dota 2 highlights different strengths or weaknesses. I mentioned earlier in my coaching session that certain heroes are way stronger level 5 than they are level 1. So those type of heroes, they usually want to play super passive to some extent in the early levels, such that they just get past the early levels and then they can play aggressive. And that was my natural playstyle. So I was really good at any hero that was like that. I didn't realize that for a really long. I didn't know that. Like I wasn't good enough to know that. But the minute I realized that, I'm like, oh shit, I got to study up on heroes like anti-mage and stuff that I really have to punish them level 1. And if
To
I
learn
don't,
the other mindset.
yeah, exactly, because I have to get better at that other mindset. Exactly. So, whenever I've realized a significant weakness in my game, I'm like, nowadays, like recently, and so this is what I would do if I was trying to get better. I would pick a hero that suffers if you don't know if you suffer from that weakness, that hero will suffer, and that's when I'll start picking that hero. So like that, whenever I'm learning a hero, a lot of the time it's because I've noticed a weakness in my game that I need to get better at. And so Mirana specifically, like I love playing Mirana right now because I have a hard time. One of my weaknesses is mid to late game team fighting is worrying about positioning while precisely timing and utilizing spells. So she has Leap, which utilizes directional move that I've always struggled with. And then she has Starfall, which actually has a very important like distance feel as well as like timing because there is a delay on it. And then she obviously has Arrow, right? And then she's a hero that is ranged and does high DPS, but she has to be properly positioned. So I'm like, she's a hero that if you don't have good positioning as well as like if you don't have good positioning while casting spells from the core role, she's very good at she's very bad if you don't do that, right? So I've been recently liking to play her because that's an aspect of my game that I get to work on. Either way, like when I'm learning Dota, if I were to learn a game like Dota again, every time I see a weakness, I would try to put myself in a situation that exploits it and try to fix it. Because that's something where I didn't do that for a really long time. Like a super, super long time. So like if you come up to me, what's your MMR?
2.3k.
Okay. So like if you're like you're still in the lower end of Dota. And if you see something like, BSJ, I don't feel confident in armlet toggling. Then fuck it, play Huskar 20 games in a row. I don't give a shit. Like
Force myself to learn it.
Force yourself to play Huskar 20 games in a row, and then you'll never I've heard people say, even my friends, when I was playing with them, they're like, I don't pick armlet heroes because I don't pick Huskar because I don't know how to use armlet, and I'm like,
that's exactly why you should pick him.
And I'm literally like, dude, you're just gonna then you're never gonna pick Huskar. You're never gonna become more. You're never gonna want to fix it more than you are now. Meaning it's only gonna get worse. Like every problem I've ever had, like you said, you form habits and you end up forcing yourself to backtrack even more so. Then, I saw for the longest time, I saw players, I think Eternal Envy was the first player I really noticed doing it, was stop canceling his auto attacks for CSing. And I just thought, that seems so pointless. And then, now I'm like, oh my god, it's so important. And I spent another 2 years, that was probably 2 years ago, I spent another 2 years where I didn't CS with stop command. And then, now it's probably taken me an extra 2 weeks to learn it. I mean, I've learned it now, but it took me probably an extra 2 weeks to learn it when I did learn it, because I spent 2 years not using it. And it's just one of those things where it's funny because I'm on stream and I remember those days where I was learning it and I would just randomly miss 10 free CS a game because I'm trying to learn the mechanic. And I know Twitch chat's just lolling, but it's you have to be willing to mess up certain parts of your game in order to fix what's wrong with them. People rely on crutches too much. They rely on things that they're like, I know I could do this better, but if I try to fix it now, it's gonna be worse, immediately. And
they
so
avoid the discomfort.
Yeah, the only time that I've ever given up on something that I know would be better for me was camera grip, because I tried for about a month and it never got better. It never got to the point after a month of utilizing it that I saw benefit on my gameplay. And at that point, I'm just like, okay, mechanical limitation, whatever it is, hockey limitation, I'm just done. I'm not gonna use it.
But even then, you gave it a month, right?
Yeah, I'm saying I gave it a very long time. Yeah, I gave it a very long time.
Hundreds of things, and only one of them didn't work.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's so far out of everything I've been I need to get better at this. There's only two things were that and Lone Druid.
I see.
The only hero that I've ever played where I said, "Holy shit!" I've played 80 games of this hero and never gotten very little better, very very minuscule amount better, is Lone Druid. Every other hero I've played 20 games of or more, I've been wow, I got a lot better after 20 games. But yeah, so
I'm really glad to hear that you apply this concept of deliberate, focused practice
Yeah,
to Dota, because
yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that's really important.
yeah. I mean, what do you do for a living, or what do you do outside of Dota?
Oh, I write a blog on company culture and like human growth, mindset, stuff like that.
Oh,
These concepts
interesting.
actually. It's
So
really interesting to me.
that's why you asking. That makes sense. I mean, it sounded like you were something along those lines. So, okay, man. Do you have any other questions, generally speaking, or do you want to get into the
I
Dota
just wanted to
discussion?
address something you said last night because I think it would be good for chat to know this.
Okay.
You said when people get coaching, it's usually to save time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling the reason I'm getting coaching is so that I don't learn these bad habits. And I think for me, the most fulfilling part of Dota is learning it well, like learning in a good direction.
Okay.
So I
I
think
agree.
if you as a coach are able to help me learn in a good direction, then it doesn't matter what my MMR gains are or whatever. Like, then I'm having fun, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
So
like
I'm willing to put
Dota.
in the time, but only when it's focused in the right direction, I
I
feel.
feel like one. Yeah. I feel like one of the most demoralizing parts of Dota is that you can
Mhm.
actually play for hundreds of hours and have no idea what you're doing wrong.
Right.
So, that is pretty demoralizing. Like, it's pretty obvious that you messed up, but a lot of people have no idea why they're messing up.
Mhm.
So for me, like, I think why you save time is because it gives you a sense of direction. At least that's what I like.
Right.
When I look at my own coaching, like, I do feel like I'm offering a legitimate service because I do feel like I'm giving people something to focus on when they're doing this. It's kind of like when you work out, you have a physical trainer
Definitely.
that tells you the proper workouts. Like, you could be at the gym theoretically, getting stronger, getting faster, or whatever. But if you're not doing like the best possible thing, then maybe you're just spending more time or effort than you need to.
And
So
you'll
that's,
learn the wrong form, and yeah, it's long
yeah,
term
that
very
kind of stuff.
harmful.
So that's exactly how I look at myself in regards to coaching Dota. You're just trying to save time and making sure you're doing things correctly. Like that's
And make it more fulfilling the time I do
yeah,
spend. Yeah.
yeah. That's exactly yeah. When I say you're spending not only less time, but like the reason why you're spending less time is because the time you are spending has
Is better
purpose.
spent.
Yeah, it's better
Yeah.
spent. Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I'm happy to get into the games
Are
now.
you newer to Dota, or have you been playing for a while?
So I actually got into Dota to try to apply these principles of deliberate practice. It was a way to practice that system. So I got in about 4 months ago.
Okay, so you're that makes a lot of sense. I'm not like flaming. I'm literally just like wondering. No, like to be genuine, you seem like you have a good head on your shoulders. So I would have been surprised if you told me you've been playing Dota for 5 years and you're 2K. So
Oh yeah,
you've been playing for about 4 months and you're 2.4,
2.3. Yeah.
2.3. Okay, so 2.3K.
And I wanted to say I really appreciate you going over this. Just the notes I took in the last 20 minutes, I feel will help me a lot in the coming years playing Dota. Like,
Yeah,
I
for
think this
sure,
is very
man.
valuable.
You sound like you have the right mindset, so I think I think that you can definitely take a small amount of knowledge and direction that I can give you and turn it into something. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead. Do you have anything else? Sorry.
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd
Let's
love
go
to
ahead
get
and
it.
get the ball rolling and make sure you get it going.
Sounds good.
Somebody's saying they're convinced you are a sophisticated troll. I can see that.
Possibly, but no, I'm just here to learn
No,
Dota.
you seem like a smart dude. I mean, people seem to think you are a smart dude. I agree. So don't let that get to you. Go ahead and
Yeah, no, I closed Twitch chat. I didn't want to be affected by it.
yeah. Go ahead and post the replay ID in our call here.
Oh, they're both in there. First replay and second replay. in the
Oh
first
yeah, I forgot it was from earlier. Yeah.
But yeah, your insights are very valuable. I think your perspective will help me a lot.
Okay, cool. One insanely intelligent human being to another. No, I'm kidding. I'm just having fun. Okay, so let's see. What hero are you?
Luna.
Luna. Okay. So
So I know you probably already shared your screen, but something must have broken. I don't.
No, I didn't. I was.
No, I'm just trolling. I'm memeing. I know.
You okay? Yeah, you're a funny guy. So continuing.
Yeah.
So based off what we already just said, I think Luna's a hero that, her strengths are that she farms really fast, and that she can hit insane timings, and the weaknesses she suffers from is positioning, and her farming is incredibly specific because if you farm the wrong parts of the map, you're just gonna die. Like
Right.
as a hero like Jug, the amount of space on the map that you're allowed to farm is usually much higher than Luna. So a hero like that, if he farms the wrong place on the map, he might just be taking safe farm from heroes that could utilize it, so maybe his support will have less levels or something. But if Luna takes the wrong farm on the map, she just dies. So
And I think I've really liked that about Luna is she forces you to practice good macro, like be on the right place at the
yeah,
map.
yeah, that's what Luna forces. So I was playing a decent amount of Luna a bit ago, but I feel like for me now that I understand a lot of these concepts, the only problem I have is I love doing things. Like I love being active carry now. I love being an active
Right.
carry. Like if I'm not at least participating in fights, I love to be aggressively pressuring, and Luna doesn't do that. So like I every time I play heroes like Luna, I'll struggle a bit because I feel this innate desire to be aggressive or participate in fights, and sometimes you're just not supposed to. Anti-mage is the same thing. Like yesterday in my game against the Liquid Stack or whatever, I did have probably twice in the first 25 minutes that I showed up to fights that I shouldn't have been at. And like on almost every carry, you're supposed to show up at fights, but like on Anti-mage, no. So against their team, it's the same idea. Like we talked about, what's Luna's primary weakness, right? What is it?
Um, her early game?
No, like why? What about her early game or farming is her weakness?
I think she has to be passive. Is that it?
Yeah, it's that she can die. It's that
You're
she's
right.
vulnerable
She's
to death.
squishy.
So what you need to think about pretty much for the first like 10, 15 minutes, the way I look at a hero like Luna is she's like the fastest farmer in the game, like innately, like with her skills. So as long as she's farming, she's probably winning. Like farming as much as she wants to, she's probably winning. So whenever I make any decision on a hero like this, for the most part, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how do I die? So like, the first example is when I contest this rune. How do I die?
Probably. It's probably very hard to die at this stage. I mean, it would have to be like three
it is.
heroes.
It would.
Like Ricky, Slardar.
And
Witch Doctor.
the way I look at it is have to be Witch Doctor, Cask, into Slardar stun is how
Right.
I die. So my positioning
maybe
would have to
damage.
be to make sure I would see a Witch Doctor coming and that the Cask would not be a long enough stun to set up Slardar. Who's faster, Luna or Slardar?
Probably Luna. She's
okay.
pretty fast.
Yeah, do you know what Slardar's move speed is?
300-ish? I don't know.
290. It's good practice,
290.
I mean, now it's been nerfed on strength heroes, but whatever. It's the same idea. You don't have to know move speeds precisely, but having a really good, like, I'm fine with 300 as an acceptable estimate. Like, having it within 10, I think, is ideal.
But it's good to look it up and just learn it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff where, like, every time I don't know something, that's a perfect example. Every time I don't know something, like, I'll ask myself, a base armor, base movement speed, base damage. Damage variance is, like, a next level thing that you can consider later.
Oh yeah,
Like-
you talked about PL.
Yeah, like PL, like that's a hero that if you don't understand damage variance, PL, Troll, Chaos Knight, you're gonna miss 5-10 CS a game because you don't know damage variance exists. Those heroes
Right.
have 20 plus damage variance, which is like insane. So, but like on Luna, it doesn't matter nearly that much, right? Hers is 6, so it's like for me, I actually didn't know what her exact damage variance was. I just knew it wasn't significant enough to care. But that's like relevant that I know it's not significant enough to care. I'm just giving you examples. So my point is, if you can't die, then why aren't you at least at this rune?
I should be. I should be positioned more aggressively.
Like, even if you don't get the rune, you should force the Slardar to walk at you and force you off the rune. Because you're in 2K, right? How often is that Slardar going to be like, oh, this Luna can't stop me if I walk at him and stun him? Right?
Right.
Like, there's at least half these games that Slardar is just not going to be there.
So I had to be posturing. Yeah.
Yeah,
more
so
correctly, right.
make the opponent make the right play when...
And punish them if they don't.
Yeah, and punish them if they don't. And if they make the right play, just make sure you can counterplay it. Meaning, like, if...
And in this case, I can. It's
yeah,
very hard.
so,
for me.
like, if you're saying, like, I'm going to sit on this rune, and if Slardar's here, I'm just fucking dead, then you don't walk up to that rune. You know what I mean? Like, don't bank on them being bad. Make them force them to make the right play, and if they don't, like you said, punish them. So that's a
Right.
very little decision, right? But it seems
But it
like-
matters.
yeah, but it's the mindset thing that matters. So, like, if you're in the mindset of what kills me, that's the only thing stopping me from doing whatever I want to do, then stuff like contesting the bounty rune will drastically change but what you're doing in the game. So, okay. Moving
Makes
on.
perfect sense.
Yeah, don't mind the starting items here.
I'm kind of curious. Yeah, when would you go different items?
Um,
How do you usually decide what's your criteria on Luna?
on Luna specifically or any hero?
Probably Luna, because I think she's my vehicle for learning the game right now, or
Okay,
one of
so,
them.
yeah, so you're as we mentioned, it's better to learn the game from. Okay, so on Luna, whenever it comes to safe lane carries in general, though, whenever I think about a salve, I think to myself, like if I have 300 health or like 200 health, can I lane? And if
Against
I can't,
Riki, Witch Doctor, or yeah, probably
like
not.
against Ricky Slardar, and it's like usually the type of lanes that it's a problem to have that low of health is lanes that are kill lanes, right? Because it's much harder to kill you when you're full health than it is to kill you when you're 200. So like
Right.
if I'm against a harass lane, I'm less likely to need a salve just because I'll just need to constantly be tangoing. But like against a kill lane, if I'm at 200 health, I literally can't CS. So salves are much more important in general, but especially on in Luna, it impacts her as well to have a salve.
So especially in kill lanes.
Yeah, so like in this lane, a salve's good. That's a perfect.
So especially when I'm full pressured at low HP and I can't walk up.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can
I
walk
see.
up with low HP, salves are less impactful.
So if I can afford to let tangos regen me slowly because they don't apply kill pressure
Yeah.
at low health, then
Yeah,
okay, I see.
exactly. And then on top, aside from that, deciding how much you think you're gonna have to use beam, whether that be for CS. I actually think I would have instead of this slipper, I'd probably have two mangoes, because Luna's limited. Okay, so a lot of carries have. Okay, so against heroes like Slardar, you have to consider contesting the range creep. So like against Slardar, Centaur, and stuff, good players would just stun you if you go for the range creep. Like
So I have to use my Lucent Beam. I
yeah,
see, to
so
get that.
you want to be able to use your Lucid Beam.
If they're contesting it, if they're playing like they should.
Exactly,
I see.
right? Like you're saying, I'm gonna go for this CS, but if he tries to get it, I can just beam it. But if he doesn't,
And that's
go
why
for
the
it,
two mangoes would help.
exactly. So
I see.
something to consider on Luna is how often you'll have to beam the range creeps. Any carry that matters too, right? Like if you have to use CS to get range creeps. So like I'm just gonna use this as an example though. Is why okay, I'm this is a little bit off topic, but I'm gonna quiz you. Have you ever laid against Brewmaster or no in this tier?
Maybe once or twice.
Okay, do you know what Brewmaster does in lane to win? Like against carries?
He
You know why?
makes you miss last
He makes
hits
you
with the-
miss, right? So what kind of carries would suffer against that?
carries who have to auto attack or to get last hits.
Yeah,
or-
they have no method of getting getting CS outside of auto attacks, right?
Right.
So Weaver is the hardest counter to Brew in the game. One, because
can
Brew kills you by ulting and slowing you,
Mhm.
and you are Weaver, so that's not going to work. And then he relies on winning the lane by mischancing you, so you miss CS, and Weaver just has Sakuchi. So on a low cooldown, low mana cost, right? So like all I'm saying is like that's something that factors into matchups is how often you'll have to use spells and which matchups you would need to be a hero that can use spells. You know what I mean? Like to get CS. So super important. I think any carry in the game that can naturally secure a range creep in this current patch is way better than any hero that
Because
can.
if they deny it, it's huge.
That's
yeah.
that's why Spectre is actually a decent laner right now because her dagger went from 50 to 80 damage, and so
Oh, wow.
or 90, yeah, 90. So
Almost
and-
double.
Yeah. So, but the difference is it's not just double though. It's because heroes hit for 55, 60 damage. So the difference between 50 and 90 is literally undeniable to deniable every single time, right?
So it
Like-
hits that breakpoint. I see.
yeah. So that's why like Leshrac was not viable a month or 2 months ago because his lightning level 1 was 50. He became broken. He became broken when lightning was 80 level 1. Like it's a huge
And he could
difference.
secure the range creep every time. I
Yes,
see.
exactly, right? Like if your level 1 means you can't secure range, but and then these patch notes that make it so you can. Crystal Maiden, yeah, maybe she could have secured the range creeps and stuff with 100 damage nuke, but suddenly you give her 130 damage level 1, and if the enemy ever tries to contest the CS, even if you're a support, you just nuke the creep and you get 130 damage on that guy and the last hit with a no deny happening. So suddenly a hero that went from like unpicked is now the most broken 5 in the game. Like these are just little things I'm mentioning. Every patch is
Oh yeah, I
different,
saw
right?
Burge's video on that. It was really interesting. That
Yeah.
one change changed her laning a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so when people say, why is this hero suddenly viable? Because whatever they did drastically changed the laning stage right now. Like, if something
Right.
doesn't change a hero's laning stage, then I actually don't think it matters that much.
So I see what you mean. So you're saying sometimes numbers change just how well you do something, and sometimes they just change the playstyle completely, or they change your ability. They hit a
Yeah.
breakpoint.
Yeah,
I see.
exactly. So in this lane, how important are boots and why not?
I think they're probably very important
Okay.
against
Why?
Riki or Slardar's stun.
How do they kill you?
They have to walk up to me.
Okay, so boots are super important in any lane where the way they kill you is walking up to you. Like if they have some way of killing you without that, then either boots are not a difference maker, or they just don't. Or if they have no way of killing you at all, then boots just don't matter. In that case, as Luna, all I do is build damage or trading items. In which case,
If I think about it, this stick is not very good against their heroes,
yeah,
is it?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so
I
this
see.
stick should
Yeah,
be
you're right.
boots. I'm ignoring the creep equilibrium because Warlock also messed it up, and in dual lanes, lane equilibrium is much less important. So I'm focusing on the itemization against what kills you. So like if you're Luna and you think to yourself in lane, how do I die? Needs to be the first consideration. Like boots would be really helpful right there. You probably would have lost.
I would have taken a lot less damage,
Yeah, a lot less damage. And you'd feel a lot more confident to walk up at any point because Ricky slowing you is not going to make Slardar be able to catch you. I look at this lane and think the only way I'm going to die is if Slardar gets boots before I do.
I see.
That's how I look at this lane.
I always have to be faster than their stun. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that if you're on Luna and you can practice this, you can then apply it to every single carry you play. And maybe when you play a carry, you don't fully understand their potential, so that will make you wrong in situations that, even though you understand the concept, you were just wrong. You know, like,
But I have to be willing to be wrong, right? I
yeah,
have to take that
yeah.
risk and
So
try
you have
something.
to make an educated guess about how you're going to die in the lane, and then adjust your
learn.
items accordingly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my
Okay.
emphasis. So when I look at Luna, I'm like, I'm going to die by getting ran at with a Slardar stun, but if I'm against like a Bristle or something, I would definitely prioritize a stick. So something you can do on these creeps.
Yeah.
This range creep,
I could have set it up with an auto attack.
you can do where you auto attack it and you're right next to it, and then when you're in the midst of, like, basically during your next auto attack, decide whether or not you have time, and then beam it if you don't. Does that make sense?
see.
Rather than beaming it before, because do you know towers have damage variance?
Oh, they do. That's
Yes.
interesting.
So I should know this. I feel really bad. I think it's 100 to 120. Tier 1 or Dota 2. I do know this. I'm really unconfident for whatever reason. Towers.
That would explain a lot, actually.
It's 100 or 1. I think it's 100 to 120. Yeah, okay. I was like 99% sure that was correct, but for some reason that just felt wrong to me. So here's how the towers work, right? That creep had, let's rewind. Just will help you out with a little bit of a mechanic.
No, yeah, this is awesome, actually.
Yeah, so let's your beam does 75.
Mhm.
This creep has 300 health. So the fact that your beam killed that creep with 2 tower shots means that the tower shots hit for at least 225. So that means that if the average damage of towers is 110, because they damage between 100 and 120.
They usually won't do enough damage.
It won't do enough damage, usually. So you got unlucky, but not in an unlucky way that you can avoid. Like, you can avoid that happening.
I could have played around it.
Yeah, you could play around the unluckiness happening. So there are times where, like, I'm under tower and I'm literally like, guys, I just missed that CS because I'm unlucky. There's times where you don't have the ability to
play around it.
But then there are times that you do. So,
And this was one of them.
Yeah, so this was one of those.
I see.
So then, the rule that you can have, I've made a video on this, I think, but I'll just be as quick as possible. I look at creeps' health, since they average 110. But based on melee creeps with armor, they do about 100 to melee creeps. So it's safe to say they average 100. So I look at the creep after it's taken 2 tower shots, or it's at approximately 2 tower shots worth of damage. So melee creeps have 550. Okay, so if I see after 2 tower shots that ideally you're looking at it when it's between 300 and 400 health. That's when I'm looking at it. Okay,
Right.
So if it's at 300 health or less, that means it's gonna die in the next 3 tower shots.
For sure, pretty much.
Almost for sure, yeah. So if it's almost for sure gonna die, then the only way I can afford to not hit it when it's at 300 health is if after 2 tower shots I can then hit it, because my hero does at least 100 damage. Otherwise, I have to hit it once.
So usually it'll take 2 hits from a hero then.
Yeah,
from
so
300.
then it'll take, if it's at 300 health, it'll take 2 hits from me and 2 hits from the tower, and I have to make sure my second hit is the hit that kills it, right?
Right.
But, so then, the next step is, so since it starts at 550, after 2 tower shots, and we said 3 tower shots will kill it at 300 health. That's what we're assuming, because that's average, right?
Right.
So if it's at 350, which is average, if it's above 350, then 60 damage will not kill it if I'm a hero. So if it's above 350 and the tower hits it 3 times, and then I hit it with 60 damage, I will not kill it. So I'll have to set it up. You know what I'm
I'll
saying?
have to hit it twice.
Yeah, I'll have to hit it twice. So I do it with 350 and 60. So if it's 360, it's 70. Obviously, that's not a perfect because of armor, but it's pretty close. 360.
That's a really
70.
nice heuristic to have in mind,
So
actually.
350, 60, 3. If you watch my stream, I check. You know what?
Yeah, go for it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Where is it here? Probably the Slush game. Let's
Oh, this was when you were aggressive with the Ogre Magi.
Yeah.
I really like this game because you were trading with them so much.
Yeah, no, I realize this game will show you how much I've learned about what I have to do at level 1 again on heroes like this. Let me just fast forward and see, because if you check me CSing under tower, I'll tell you to watch in the future. I think this game is one of them, but because it's more important on a hero with low damage, right? Like it's even more important.
Yeah, just like Luna. It makes
Like
a lot
if you
of
have like 90 damage, it doesn't really matter, right?
But if you have 60, I see why you have to think about this.
Yeah. So let me see the point I get under tower.
So you have 54 average.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, wait. Rewind. We're going slow-mo. This is my player perspective.
Okay, so let's see your thought process.
260, 2 tower shots, 64 damage. I have to hit it once.
I see, because you can't do 64 damage.
Yeah.
But if the tower hits it for 120 both times, you will miss
I
it.
will get unlucky, yes. Check it, 360, hit it once.
I see.
You see that? And
Yeah.
this, I hit it, and then I immediately lightning it. I don't get this
Because
last
you're-
hit for whatever fucking reason. That's so stupid.
Yeah, I remember. I
But
see.
you see how, like, under tower, I'm checking that, right?
You're checking the HPs.
Yes. So.
And it's probably become natural to you now, right?
Oh
You just
yeah,
glance
it's
at the
absolutely
number.
natural. I can register. I mean, it's basically 100 damage a tower hit on melees, right? So if it's I say above 2 tower shots because that'll give you ample time to prepare. You can do it at any health threshold. Like I did it at 260 at the first creep. I did it at 360 on the second creep, right? Like I saw their health and knew based on my damage what I had to do in order to get the last hit. And you're just doing it statistically. If it's really close, it is still variance, right? Like. But you want to give yourself the best possible chance to get that last
Yeah, just like playing Hearthstone, you gotta take the risk.
Yeah.
Make the play that works most of the time.
Yeah.
I see.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Your turn to bat.
Yeah, I'll try to apply that.
I just learned that lightning, on that specific play, I learned that lightning from Leshrac has a slight delay on the damage. I did not know that until that specific occurrence.
But you registered it and you noted it in your
I'm
note.
like, holy shit, it has a slight damage delay because I casted lightning, wasted the mana, and didn't get to see it.
So that's the mindset I want to be able to cultivate, so I can note things like that and learn them.
Yeah, I mean, it's important on like every little hero you just see. I was like, oh, well, won't do that mistake again. Didn't know that. Like, I've played 9,000 games of Dota, and I still didn't know that lightning had a slight delay on it. So mainly, just know lane equilibrium, if manipulatable, is really important. Like, against
Right.
dual lanes, the reason why it's not that important is because usually in order to keep the lane equilibrium, you have to play incredibly passive.
Yo, bro, what
And then
do
if you're
I
playing
get for my
incredibly
2 months
passive,
anniversary? Should I
you're
wear
just
something
losing.
nice?
You know what I'm
So I
saying?
wanted to ask you about this. How important is it to hit level 2 first on Luna in a dual lane matchup?
I think it's almost always important to hit level 2 first in general. The way I look at it is like, if I have level 2 before them, like if Slardar has level 2 before me on Luna, I won't get a single range creep for until I get level 2. I also, like, if I'm Slardar, I'll also, like, sprint at you every single time you walk up for a creep, and I'll try to deny you by stunning you. That's
Right.
sprinting positioning, as opposed to, like, if he gets the sprinting positioning before me, before I get the beam, then he should control, like, 2 or 3 creeps that you can't do anything about.
I see.
So this is a lane where I think you don't play to get level 2 first, but you definitely don't let them double stack a wave on you. Like, if you let them get, like, a double creep wave on you, pretty much on
They can
any
push
hero
that
this
advantage.
patch, they can push that advantage. And yeah, since they're 2k, they might not do it, but...
So my mindset has sort of been to try to establish an advantage by pushing a little bit, to have a bigger creep wave than them, maybe take some good trades, hit levels first, and then maybe pull back and try to establish equilibrium once we have
I
an
think
advantage.
that's better when you're the aggressive hero, but a hero like Luna, I don't think that's necessarily the best option. Only push the
I see.
lane if you absolutely have to. That's like, some lanes you kind of just have to push it in order to, like, bully them away. Like, if I'm Lesh against Axe, whatever that was, and Axe level 1 Battle Hungers, it's incredibly to my advantage to push the lane, such that if I push the lane, that'll give me 3 creep waves where he only has Battle Hunger and no spin. So Like, because the lanes will keep stacking up, right? Because all the time that my creeps start dying will be under his tower. And at that point, he'll then have Battle Hunger and Spin, but I'll already be level 3 on Leshrac. So I don't care. Like that,
You would have built an advantage.
I'd rather him get his level 3 instantly from level 1 than have him hit level 2 before me and pressure me. Does that make sense? Like, he's going to get the same amount of levels either way. One way, I get the levels first, and then he gets it all at once. The other way, he gets ahead of me and can control the lane better than I can. If that
I
makes
see what
sense.
you mean. He could have pressured you at level 2, but you
Yes.
denied that. to him.
Yeah, but I denied that to him by... I literally told Z-Turk, that's my mod, by the way, the ogre that was supporting me.
Oh yeah, I sent him a message.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
played really well.
I told him, like, we need to run at them level 1. Like, throw your Ignite, I'm Lightning Storming, we're pushing this creep. Like, because I know that, because I've literally, like, learned that lesson that if I played passively in that lane and Axe got level 2 before I did, I'm actually boned. Because if you think about his perspective, if he gets level 2 before me, he's going to Battle Hunger me and run at me, and I would have to run through him to Lightning the creeps. Like, that's what I would have to do. And so I'm going to Lightning to get CS, and I'm going to take damage. So I'm going to use a spell and lose health in order to get CS because I gave him level 2 before I got it.
And you had the foresight to realize that's how it would play out unless you took
That's
preventative
what I'm
measures.
saying. You learn from your own mistakes, meaning like that's happened to me 50 times, you know, in any given lane matchup where I fall behind level 2 and like I'm like, holy shit, I can't lane anymore. And then like I'm like, okay, so now I've realized after learning that lesson thinking about that as a consideration. Like, meaning, I have to be concerned about, is it important which hero in this lane gets level 2 first? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. Like, usually it's important, it's just a matter of how important. It's almost always important, it's just sometimes it's way more important than others. And those are the things that, when you think that way, you start to prioritize,
Watched the VOD of the game versus Liquid yesterday.
you
Good
start to
stuff.
prioritize the right things, like in any given lane. Certain things matter way more than others. In some lanes, boots are incredibly important. Like this lane, my first item would have been boots. In some
Yeah, so
lanes,
this was a huge mistake.
yeah,
right?
in some lanes, I'll go Aquila, Glove of Haste, Band of Elvenskin before I go boots. Like,
I see.
if I'm Mirana, for instance, and I'm in the off lane, very rarely do boots actually matter. Like, early. Like, I need them, but, like, not first item. So, like, a lot of my Mirana offlane games, you'll see me... I lane against Moo. It was this game, if you want to watch it. Like, I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to show you the replay I did. Like,
Yeah, I'll
show
note
you-
down the match.
Yeah, it's right here, I think. And I'm laning against Moo on Lone Druid, and I'm Mirana. And if you look at my items... Right? Like, I don't care about movement speed as a Mirana against a Lone Druid. All I care about is hitting him harder than he hits me and getting last hits and denies. I guarantee you, this Glove Haze got me at least 4 denies that I would not have gotten otherwise. Like, if you watch the replay back. So that's just, like, something where you realize, if you think about the game this way, what's important in a
In this
given lane matchup. Like, in this specific lane, like, I look at Slaughter, I'm like, he doesn't do a lot of damage. He's not going to deny me if I just have brown boots, like, no Aquila. He may deny some creeps, but mainly the problems I'm going to face is if he sprints at me and kills me because he has boots. And this
Right.
guy's just
So I
terrible.
have to be faster
I mean,
than him.
look at this. It's fucking terrible. Sorry, I didn't know he... Sorry, that's pretty funny.
Okay, I understand. So I think this is something I'm doing on autopilot, and I need to get off of autopilot and be very
Yeah.
conscious about the
Oh,
decisions.
absolutely. There's no decision in Dota if you're actually really trying to get better. That's autopilot. There just isn't.
It's just no excuse. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no. So, here's the deal.
Mhm.
When I'm under tower... Okay, when you're under tower and you're CSing,
Mhm.
what's the last thing you want to deal with?
An enemy pressuring you while
Okay.
you're trying to do that. So I should have been pressuring them.
Yeah, because if they're trying to CS, what's the last thing they're going to do to you?
Attack me.
Okay, and so if I have boots so that I can't actually die, so say I can't die here and I have boots, anytime they spend trying to attack me, what am I doing? Am I trading with them?
I'm just kiting them.
You're
and
just
making
kiting them,
mistakes.
right? Because the entire time you're kiting them, what's happening?
They're missing CS to
Yes, so you need to look for opportunities like this in every single lane, whether it's tower, whether it's you have they have 2 creep waves and you only have 1. I mentioned this in my last session, right?
Right, I remember, and I can waste
Yeah.
their time outside the
You-
creep wave and then go back.
Yes, exactly. So you need to look for those opportunities where you're the person that's obligated or they are to CSing. And if you know those spots, that's when you can create some super awkward shit for people. Like, they'll either back off because they can't CS anymore, or they won't be paying attention to you. They'll be, like, especially in low MMRs, they'll be so busy trying to focus on that CS that you'll have hit them 4 times in the midst of them trying to get the creep. And then they just tank, like, 200 damage for 1 creep. So something I commonly see in lower MMRs, especially, like, newer players or lower MMRs like yourself, like, or both, in your case, you're new as well, is that you just allow them to have these creeps. Like, I see it a lot. Like, I did the team coaching session last week, and I told the SK player who was the 4 position support in the off lane that, like, I showed him how many times he wasn't contesting the enemy creep. And I was literally like, dude, it should never happen that carry gets a last hit without you in his face. And I'm like, what's the only exception? Why would you not play in his face? And we came to the conclusion that it's because he dies if he walks up to contest the creep. So I'm like, all you have to do is ask yourself, am I going to die? If the answer is no, I go up and deny or at least try to deny every single creep.
Make them feel pressure.
Make them have to think about more things, right? We talked about
Right.
mental capacity, your limits. And so if they're busy worrying about you, especially in lower MMRs, like, they're going to be so busy worrying about you, they're not going to worry about CS. You also missed 1 creep worth of XP yourself. But more importantly, the support Ricky got, like, 4 CS and a free level and a half.
For
At
free,
least,
yeah.
Yeah, at least, like, forcing him to, worry about you while he's CSing.
See, that's something I really appreciate, because I think it's a lot easier for people to see the mistakes they make, but it's harder for them to see the mistakes of missed opportunities.
Yeah.
And
That's not an apparent mistake. I don't know what you're doing here, maybe going to pick up an item from your support or something, but this should never happen.
Right.
The reason why you lane as a carry, what you're accomplishing is to get XP and farm. So the only time you should ever leave lane, ideally, to do anything, whether that's shopping, bounty runes, you'll see a lot of carries shove in the lane intentionally to go get bounties, by the way. That's an example. Like, if you watch me, I do it too. Like,
If I'd set it up, right.
they'll intentionally push this lane. They don't care about lane equilibrium. They care more about the bounty runes. When would I not do that?
If you were worried about dying?
Yeah, that's simple.
Right.
I'm not going to go push the lane in to go pick up the bounty rune if I look at their 2 heroes and say, oh, they show up to the bounty rune and I just fucking die. But what happens is, if I push this lane in against Slardar Ricky, what's the beauty of that? If I push this lane in at 450,
They're obligated to get that CS.
they're either here or here. They're not doing both. Right?
I know where they are, yeah.
So if they're here, if you see these creeps just dying under tower, are you going to the
I know
bounty
where they
runes?
are. No.
No, but if you see them farming under tower, you
Then
go
I
pick up
definitely
the bounty runes. And also, like, you'd be much more vulnerable to die at the bounty runes without boots. So that's like another consideration. So right now, yeah, this should just not happen. I don't know exactly what you're doing. Waiting for your warlock, maybe?
Is it possible that I was afraid of dying?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
that's
possible.
a
I'm
unjustified
saying, like,
fear.
probably like saying, like, waiting for your warlock to come back, and that's not a justified fear, no.
It's completely unjustified. I couldn't have died there.
Yeah, you can't die. Yeah,
You're
especially
right.
if you had boots. And just a good habit, anytime you're missing health, especially against kill lanes, just tango. You haven't used a single one.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So I think I'm just playing too passively.
Yeah,
I should
and
be
majorly,
pushing my limits.
Yeah, majorly on the boots thing, too. Notice how he's harassing you. Imagine if you had boots there. What you
The
could
boots would
do-
enable me to do.
It would enable you to hit him once, then kite him, then beam him, and then if he chooses to run away from you to go back to CS, you can then hit him twice, like on his
Right.
way out. You know what I mean? It allows
So
you
that
to,
one decision impacted this entire lane.
Yeah, I mean it does. What it means to me though, to explain this to everybody, because when I harped on my 5K players, especially my Ursa today, I harped on him so much for his little item choices, because I know how you plan to play this lane based on what items you're buying. Like, to some extent, maybe at your level it's not quite that up there yet, but like when I see that Ursa, like, did you see that session?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's like when you build phase boots, you're building to kill on any
When he built
hero.
Aquila, he was building to trade.
Yeah,
but-
you're building to like trade sustain. So if it's a trade sustain lane and you build phase, I'm upset. If it's a
Right.
kill lane and you build Aquila, I'm upset. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not okay. That's telling me that's telling me by building Aquila there, one of two things. One, you don't give a shit, or two, you have no idea what you're doing. That's the two options. Like, and that's a 5.8K player. Like, that is top like 3% of the Dota community. And so it's
Right.
like, with all due respect to that guy, he's not like a bad player by any means. But he either is not thinking about lane matchups that way, or he actually just has no clue what he's doing. And he told me he's played 15 Ursa games. So the only logical explanation is he actually just doesn't think about lane matchups. He doesn't actually approach lane matchups in a way that's relevant. Okay, so
He sort of maybe does it on autopilot, or
yeah, exactly. He just kind of buys the same items, like you said. You kind of just bought the items. Maybe he just buys the same items every game. He says he really likes Aquila. I think that was his explanation. So now, because of all the little things we've talked about, little efficiency things, suddenly you're behind in levels to the Slardar, which is pretty nuts, especially when, I mean, crazy thing is, I feel like you've basically been free farming, and you have 22 CS at 7 minutes. So a lot of this has to do with lane equilibrium, having a little bit more sense of urgency, like you could have been a little bit better about denying. Basically asking yourself, know this. What's the only thing stopping you from controlling lane equilibrium?
the enemy heroes.
Yeah, like whatever they do to you, killing you, harassing you, whatever it is. So as long as they're not doing that, all the videos and stuff I've made about lane equilibrium need to be practiced, right?
And if I build and play in a certain way that they can't do that to me, then I can hold the lane equilibrium.
Yeah, exactly. You can do a better job at that, exactly, yes. So, like, when...
I can make it harder for them, right?
Yeah, when I was Mirana, right, why did I build Glove of Haste and Band of Elven Skin over Boots? Because those items help me CS better, and I don't need Boots, right? Like, I don't need them in order to CS. So I'm just going to buy the items that make me do more damage and attack faster. Like, that's...
And get more denies, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I can attack faster, I can then hit one creep, then another very quick, like, much quicker, right? So
right. You can get deny and last hits successively.
So usually when you're deciding between Band of Elven Skin... Say you're going into Treads, you're an Agi hero. How do I decide which one's more important, Band of Elven Skin or Glove of Haste?
Do you need attack speed, or do you need the damage to deny?
Perfect.
How much is
Nailed
their
it.
damage, right?
There you go. Does the 6 damage help me more? Or does the 20 attack... Like, I do plenty of damage, but I just need to be able to kill the creeps faster because I want to hit more creeps? Then that's better, right? Like,
I think I remember there was a video where you built the Band of Elven Skin on a Terrorblade instead of a Quelling because you realized you had to deny more in that lane.
Yeah. I said that, yeah. That's exactly true. That was exact... I said I needed to deny more, and I didn't need the Quelling for CS. That was
You didn't need the last hit damage.
Because whatever they're here... I think it was a Pango. And so I had like 60 damage with the Band of Elven Skin, and Pango has 50 base damage or whatever, so I'm like, I don't need the Quelling, I just need to be able to deny better. Yeah, that's an exact, like, that is an exact on-the-fly adjustment. How often do I buy a Band of Elven Skin before Quelling Blade on a hero like Terrorblade?
Probably like 2% of games.
Yeah, very rarely, right? Like, very rarely.
But when it's right, it's right.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
It's because you're thinking about it.
Yes,
You
that's
don't let Quelling
why
Blade
pro
default.
players make these weird adjustments and, like, things that don't make sense on paper. Like, meaning, like, when I say don't make sense on paper, it's literally a feel thing. Like, I can't describe to you when you should build Band of Elven Skin in terms of, like, I can't tell you in this hero against this matchup. It's literally the 6 damage, 6 attack speed, or I guess 8 attack speed, is better than for denying than the 24 damages for last hitting. You know what I mean? Like, that's
But the advice
win.
you can give.
That's when. Like, that's when it is, but, like, can I tell you a specific situation? I couldn't have come up with that Terrorblade situation on my own.
Beforehand.
Like,
right.
I could not have thought of that. It was literally like I don't need like, in the middle of it. I'm literally like, I don't need it.
But the advice that you do give us, which is really helpful, is don't make it default. Think about it each time.
Yeah.
Think about your reasoning.
Yeah, and like that Leshrac game where I pushed the lane into their tower, I wasn't planning on building a bottle. But we shoved the lane into their tower, I had half mana, and
You
I
were
had
at the side shop?
660 gold. I had 660 gold, I had half mana, and I was sitting right here.
And you could go to their secret shop and just
Yeah,
buy
and
it.
I just walked over and bought a bottle. Like,
And I thought that was so great, yeah.
I was not planning that, right? I really wasn't. Like, there's no...
But it worked out.
Yes, so all I'm saying, like, you're realizing, and I'm emphasizing time again, is if you're critically thinking about what your hero needs to do, what you need to do it, and what can go wrong and all that kind of shit, you're naturally just going to buy the right items and play the right way. Because, like, yeah, you may not do it perfectly at your level, especially because you've only played the game for a few months, and you're still working on experience-wise. But if, like, I simplify... Like, so for me, I'm doing that on a hero I've played once. Like, my last Leshrac game before yesterday was probably a month ago. So, like, I'm doing it on a hero like that. So as a high-level player who's played 9,000 games or whatever, I'm expected to be able to do that on almost every hero I play. So we want to simplify it, dumb it down a bit for you to be able to do it on Luna every game. So the
And then
order,
broaden it later on.
Yes. So in the order in which you buy Stick, Aquila, Treads, Mask of Madness, probably all of those items at some point are going to be in your inventory. But the order in which you buy them is very important, right? Like, so you
Should be
can
different each.
so you can start with this decision making at that level. while I'm doing it at my level. You can do it at that level and then work your way up, you know?
I see.
So, like, the way to simplify it first is making sure you are building the same items. Excuse me. Like, Luna does build the same items pretty much every game. I mean, in terms of the laning stage. It's just, like, what order she builds them. But, like, so that's a good start. I'm building the same items, now deciding what order to build them. It's kind of like Jugs the same way, whether you go Aquila or Phase Boots first. That's an important understanding. I watch 5K players, 6K players fuck it up, you know? Like, whether or not you go Treads or Phase on heroes like Jug. A very important...
Am I killing, fighting, or farming?
Yes,
right?
exactly, right? Like, if you understand that, you'll build Treads or Phase correctly almost every game. And that's like a very straightforward question to ask yourself. But, you know, you don't want to do it too complicated. You want to do it on similar heroes. So you do fly yourself regen. That's better than fucking 4K players I've been coaching, so...
I really liked what you had said about Dota is all about asking the same questions but coming up with different answers.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, it is, exactly. Right. So, level glaives, nice. I like the 2 points in glaives. I mean, I can tell you, yeah, you're adjusting on the fly. Clearly, you've played a decent amount of Luna, or at least I've listened to my streams, so I do notice, like, these are little things, right? Like, you held the skill point, and you're like, oh, I'm farming a stack. Put 2 points in glaives. That's, like, a perfect example of on-the-fly adjustments. You flew yourself clarities because you recognize you have mana problems. Like, you're not planning to fly clarities, you're flying yourself an item, and you have mana problems. Okay, so... The problem with what happens here is you could actually be pressuring their tower before Meepo comes online, and before Meepo or before Jug has like phase. Because if Jug doesn't have phase, right, then you can if Jug TB's in, you just walk away, right? And before Meepo's online, you can just walk away. You're not going to get ganked by Meepo, is what I'm saying. But now that this Meepo has 110 CS, and you've been like everything's a little slower because of all the reasons we've talked about so far.
I'm playing passively.
You have to play passively. Like, at this point, your passivity is correct.
But it wasn't before.
But it wasn't supposed to look like this. Yeah. Exactly.
My earlier passivity led to me being forced to play passive now.
That's usually what always happens. If you miss a timing, it never gets easier.
Right.
Like, it doesn't... Like, if you don't exploit your own strengths, it doesn't become easier to be stronger later.
It only gets harder.
Yeah. The only time you're supposed to play passively is when you ask yourself what all of the potential aggressive plays you can make are, and none of them work. Like, you just can't do them, okay?
Then I play passive.
Yes, then you play
If there's
passive.
a single aggressive play I can make, I should do it.
You know, it was a hilarious game I played on stream. I'm not going to pull it up. Like, I'm going to show you. You could actually watch it if you want.
I will,
It's hilarious to me. I heard Ricky was telling me about this game. Ricky was telling me about my chat. This was like, if you fast forward past the laning stage where I messed up, I died like 2 extra times than I should have. I played this game perfectly. Like, I'm not saying this to like... I was actually so proud of myself because usually when I'm behind, I try to force things.
But you had the discipline.
This game. If you watch me from 10 minutes onward, I'm hitting neutrals for 25 minutes. Actually, like I'm actually hitting neutrals for 25 minutes, and I really want you to. I'm gonna copy paste this into our chat. Okay, I want you to watch this game back, and the entire time I'm hitting neutrals, I want you yourself to analyze what's happening on the map, like fights, objectives, and ask yourself if you think there was anything I could have actually participated in without just dying, like without just feeding. And then answer that, answer that for yourself when you're in your games. Because if you watch that game back, Ricky's my roommate. He was telling me how my entire chat was flaming me for AFK jungling. And, like, if you watch that game back, like, if you look at their heroes against Drow, look at their heroes.
You just died.
Like, PA, Pangolier, Wraith King Stun, Broodmother. Who on that team, what combination of 2 heroes on that team does not kill me? Like, like, any 2 heroes of those 5 find me, I'm dead. Like, that's just how it is. So it's like, I can't move. I can't go anywhere. So at this stage, I'm fine with what you're doing because they have these Meepo Slardar heroes. But the way I look at it is, against good players, what's the lane you're concerned about right now?
Probably
Equilibrium-wise.
Oh,
No.
Equilibrium.
Yeah,
or
like-
just top. I'm playing her on top, so right now.
No,
top.
are you going to defend top, though? Is your hero
they
the
could
one that
dive me,
defends
maybe.
top? Like, are you going to farm top? Is that the same? What did we talk about with the dead lane? Is this...
It's probably bot lane that I have to give top to someone else, like maybe a
Okay,
support.
top's not your lane. That's what we're eliminating. So,
Right.
if top's not your lane, and Doom's already laning bottom...
Then I guess
then
it's mid.
Yeah, the 2 choices you have, if you're passively farming... Okay, here's a better answer, because it's more general, and you seem to understand when I'm telling you general concepts. Is, if I'm trying to take an objective, what objective am I going to take? in a game where we haven't taken a tier 1 by 15 minutes, what tower is it 99% of the time that I'm going to take?
First. Probably their safe lane tower.
Okay, so it's their safe lane tower. So if I intend at all to participate in any amount of fighting, what lane would I be farming around?
The safe lane.
Their safe lane, right?
Their safe lane.
Yeah, they're safe. So
Right.
then in this case, I have two choices, and I look at my lineup and how my ally heroes are playing. And so a reason why a hero like Jug is better than Luna, in my opinion, in average for pubs, is because Jug is much better at being either that AFK farmer or the guy that's pushing the towers. A hero like Luna
Is forced into one.
is usually the AFK farmer. Very rarely can you be the aggressive tower pusher early because you just die, right? Like that's why I lean away from heroes like Luna personally in pubs. Because if my hero that's supposed to be aggressively pressuring towers is not, I have nothing to do as Luna. I literally can't do it.
So I make it very predictable for the opponents to recognize, okay, they have a Luna. We can play aggressive and punish her.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do anything about it.
And that's fine if your teammates are doing the right thing or you're just better than the opponents. But like, if
I
your
can't rely on
teammates
that.
are not actually at pressuring, that's why I lean away from Luna. But like, if you're gonna get like, I'm fine with you using Luna to practice. All I'm saying is there will be games because you're a Luna that are out of your control because of your teammates. They are like you will have to farm and you won't be able to. Like there'll just be games where you're supposed to farm and you're not able to. I hate
But
playing...
I should still do my best to be aggressive
Oh,
early.
absolutely.
Right
I'm saying you should think about the most aggressive possible place you can farm on the map and do it. Like that is like you are supposed to do that. Usually though on heroes like Luna, that space is much less. But my point is when you're a hero like Luna, if your fear is death, what's stopping you from pushing waves? Dying. So whenever you see any heroes on the enemy team, okay, so first off I think what stops me from dying or stops me from farming is dying. So who on the enemy team kills me? If I see them, the combination of heroes that kill me, what should I immediately do?
I should be pushing aggressively on the other side of the map from them.
Yeah, or like whatever lane's right next to you. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, it's a little bit different because you're taking an ancient stack. So like I would be content taking an ancient stack if I because ancient stacks do make you vulnerable, right? Like they are like a relatively big objective. You know what I mean? Like you are squishy when you're doing them. So I'm fine with that. All I'm saying is like if you see five heroes show top, if you were to continue jungling rather than either hitting this or this, I would be pissed, right? Like
that would be a mistake.
Because the only thing stopping you is actually the enemy heroes. But they're not doing that. So like right now I see bottom and I see top. Run straight mid. Okay, you're doing that. Good.
I should be pushing that.
Yes, right.
Okay, so BSJ, I really appreciate this, but we've gone over the hour, and like I said, I want to be really respectful of your time.
Okay.
So I just want to ask you, before we close out, what specific things do you want to see me fix or heavily improve before the next coaching session?
Okay, yeah, that's fine, dude. I respect that, dude. Really do. Basically, the major things are thinking about the lane that way, because if you can think about the lane that way, the way I talked to you about, it actually applies to the entire game. It's just way simpler. No, I'm talking about the entire game, like 40 minutes in and stuff.
I see.
It's just way simpler in the laning stage than it is. Because in the late game, you have to worry about all 5 heroes on the enemy team, and you have to worry about all 4 heroes on your team. You have to worry about item timings. You have to worry about objectives. In the laning stage, you just have to look at their 2 heroes, you have to look at your hero and say, what could go wrong, how do I fix it? Right? Like, do you think about it? Like, the laning stage, the reason why I used to emphasize the laning stage so much in every single session was because the rest of the game, the analysis that it takes for you to build the right items and do the right things is just a more complicated version of the same thing.
I see.
Like,
so you want me to apply critical thinking to every stage of the game?
Yes, and it starts with the laning stage because that's the simplest part. So I want, if I were, my goal for you when you were to come back would be to at least, if you were playing Luna every game, like if you were to bring Luna back to me, to have it where you were building the Treads Aquila wand or stick or whatever
in the right order.
In the right order for a reason every single game. Sometimes,
I should be able to defend my reasons each
Yes,
game.
exactly. You should be able to defend exactly why you did it. Exactly. Like, what I was going to say, like, I don't expect it to always be right because you may be wrong.
Yeah, I should expect to be wrong. That's fine.
Yeah, but if you have a defendable reason for why, then that's perfect. Because what's going to happen is then you're going to say past the landing stage, oh, I look at my lineup, maybe I should be able to pressure towers, because I think I can, and my lineup needs me to. So instead of Mask of Madness, I'll go Dragon Lance first, and then Mask of Madness, because then I want to take this tower, and then after I take this tower, I can farm this area. So I'm going to get a Dragon Lance in order to take this tower, and then I'm going to take a Mask of Madness because I'm going to farm all this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have noticed occasions where pros build Yasha before Dragonlance because they feel like they can farm more than they have to fight or push towers.
Right? So, like, Dragonlance is more of a tanky,
Right.
potentially
I need to survive fights
participating
or...
in fights item, right? While Yasha
Right.
is, if they build
Farm
Yasha
fast.
before Dragonlance, that's literally saying, I feel like I'm just going to hit creeps.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel like I need to fight, I don't need that tankiness from the Dragonlance or the range. I just need, like, my hero can innately fight.
Right.
So that's why you'll see me go like Drums then Battle Fury on a hero like Jug, because I feel like I'll need to participate in fights or pushes before I finish my Battle Fury. So I can't just rush Battle Fury, and I feel like I need Drums to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
all with me saying this is what I think I'm going to do in the near future. I'm building this skill build, items, whatever, you know?
Right.
So being able to do that in the laning stage, first and foremost, is your most important thing. Thinking about the mangoes in your starting items, thinking about the salve, what I told you it accomplishes for you. You know, thinking about all these things like, do I need damage? Do I need attack speed? Do I need movement speed? Do I need the stick in order to sustain? Do I win this lane by trading? Do I win this lane by just CSing better than they do? Like, you know,
Right.
every lane's different, right? If you're against
If
a
we go
tree,
even, do I win?
yeah, are you supposed to win? Like, if you're against a tree and protector support, you're probably not going to win the lane just by casually hitting creeps. He's just going to hit them for 90. And, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, you actually have to hit that guy a bit. You have to, like, bully him away or whatever. And if you think you need a sentry, you can try to tell your supports. Like, are they going to listen? Probably not, but you can at least try. So that's all the stuff that, like, thinking about that critically, going into the lane, that's what I made my entire coaching simulation course, entire videos on, is basically asking yourself these right questions. And all I can do in a coaching session better is give you exactly, like, you know, just a one-on-one conversation with you about it. Like, I can give you exactly what I'm saying now. But these are all things that I've preached time and time again. You seem to get it, and so by the next time you get here, that's what I would want. So then, all I believe is that if you can do it in the laning stage, you'll slowly but surely also be able to do it past the laning stage. It's just more complicated. It takes more understanding of the game, and hero matchups and stuff to